The diplomatic quarters on Station Meridian hummed with artificial atmosphere, recycling the same sterile air that every human outpost seemed to favor. Captain Rhea Morgan stood before the viewport, watching the Apex delegation's vessel dock with mechanical precision. She'd been briefed extensively. The Apex were predators, evolved from pack hunters on a world where cooperation meant survival. Their society valued strength hierarchy, and something the xenoanthropologists called scent bond recognition. What the briefing hadn't prepared her for was the cubs. 3 of them tumbled into the conference hall behind Elder Vakir, their chitinous plates still soft with youth, their 6 eyes bright with curiosity. The Apex Elder stood 9 feet tall, his ceremonial armor carved from the bones of ancient prey beasts. His translator chirped to life. "Forgive the intrusion, Captain Morgan." The young ones insisted on attending. "They are curious about humans," Rhea smiled, keeping her posture relaxed despite the nervous energy of the guards behind her. "Children are welcome, Elder Vakir. Curiosity is the foundation of understanding." The cubs approached her slowly, their sensory tendrils quivering. The smallest one, barely reaching her waist, stopped directly in front of her. Its breathing spiracles flared, drawing in deep gulps of air. Then it did something that made every Apex in the room freeze. It pressed its forehead against her palm. The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. Elder Vakir's translator remained mercifully quiet, but Rhea could see the tension in his stance, the way his clawed hands flexed. The other 2 cubs moved closer, mimicking their sibling, their tendrils brushing against her uniform sleeves. "Extraordinary," Vakir finally whispered, his natural voice a rumble like distant thunder. "In 10,000 cycles this has never occurred with an off-worlder." Rhea kept her hand steady, letting the cub nuzzle against her palm. "What does it mean?" "It means they have selected you, Captain. Your scent carries something our young recognize instinctively, the marker of a pack leader, a protector." Vakir's eyes narrowed in what might have been respect. "Among our people, the cubs choose who is worthy of trust before they can even speak. They are never wrong." The negotiations that followed were supposed to last 3 days. Instead, they concluded in 6 hours. Every proposal Rhea made, Elder Vakir considered with unusual openness. Every human request for trade routes, research partnerships, and cultural exchanges was met, not with suspicion, but with thoughtful deliberation. The cubs remained throughout, curled at Rhea's feet like enormous cats, their presence a living testament to something the humans hadn't earned. They'd simply been given it, but it was on the 2nd day that everything changed. A distress signal pierced through the station's communications array. A mining colony on the border worlds, a joint venture between 3 species, was under attack by raiders. The Apex had a warship in range. So did humanity's fastest frigate. But the colony housed Apex civilians, including a creche of younglings. Rhea stood in the command center, watching the tactical display with growing dread. The raiders had superior numbers. A frontal assault would be suicide for either fleet alone. She glanced at Elder Vakir, who stood like a statue carved from stone, his tendrils rigid with barely contained fury. "Elder," she said quietly, "if we coordinate our approach, your ship's shields with our railgun platforms, we could create an opening. You would risk your vessel for Apex cubs." Vakir's voice was flat, unreadable. "I would risk my vessel to protect children," Rhea corrected. "Any children?" Something shifted in Vakir's expression. He turned to his tactical officer, issued a series of rapid commands in his native tongue, then looked back at Rhea. "Your plan has merit. We will follow your lead, Captain Morgan." The words were simple, but every Apex in the room stiffened. In their culture, an elder offering to follow was no small thing. The battle was brutal and efficient. Rhea's frigate danced through debris fields while Apex heavy cruisers absorbed punishment meant for human vessels. Her crew executed maneuvers that shouldn't have worked, threading between raider formations while Apex fighters provided cover fire. When it was over, the colony stood intact, and the raiders' broken ships drifted in the void. But the real change came after. Elder Vakir summoned a full council meeting, not just on the station but broadcasted across Apex space. Rhea attended, confused and exhausted, still wearing her combat fatigues. The cubs were there too, now groomed and formal, watching her with those 2 knowing eyes. Vakir rose, and the chamber fell silent. "For generations, we have sought allies among the stars," he began, his words carried by 1,000 translators to 1,000 worlds. We have found trade partners, resource agreements, mutual defense treaties, but we have never found those who would bleed for our young without hesitation, without calculation of debt or future favor. He turned to Rhea, and in the ancient tradition of the apex, he extended all four arms in a gesture of profound respect. Captain Rhea Morgan, the cubs selected your scent before words were spoken. They recognized what we elders needed moons to understand, that you are pack though you walk on two legs and breathe different air. You command not through dominance but through the certainty of your purpose. You need no words to make others follow, because your actions speak louder than any declaration. Vakir's mandibles clicked in what Rhea had learned was the apex equivalent of a solemn smile. From this day forward, you shall be known among our people as Kreshinar, the one who commands without words, and humanity shall be counted among the pack-sworn, the first off-world species to earn this honor. The cubs rose as one, their voices joining in a harmonic chirp that every human felt in their bones. It was acceptance. It was welcome. It was the sound of two species finding each other across the vast darkness of space, not through treaties written on data slates, but through the simple, profound act of protecting those who could not protect themselves. Rhea looked down at the smallest cub, who still pressed against her leg with absolute trust, and she finally understood what humanity had stumbled into. Not a political alliance, but something far older and more binding. The recognition that some bonds transcended species. That family was not defined by biology, but by the willingness to stand together when it mattered most. She placed her hand on the cub's head, feeling the warmth of its chitinous plates, and nodded to Elder Vakir. I accept the honor, Elder, and I promise you, humanity will not betray this trust. The words were simple, but they resonated across the chamber, across the station, across the networks that connected 100 worlds. In that moment, Captain Rhea Morgan became something more than a human officer. She became the bridge between two species, chosen not by diplomats or politicians, but by the unerring instinct of cubs, who saw past all the differences to something fundamental and true. The apex had found their packkin among the stars, and humanity had found something it had been searching for since it first looked up at the night sky, a place where they truly belonged.